For a few alphas now, I've been experimenting with large mods in the game and just adding, you know, little bits of furniture here and there and stuff, and seeing how everything works well together. And it's all pretty solid, and RimWorld's actually surprisingly stable, assuming you get the mod order right. So this time around, I thought I would go a bit nuts with it, and I have over 100 mods installed, which to some people isn't very much. Some people take that to a whole new level. But to me, 100 plus mods it's a good lot. And I intend to add a few more as things update and as I find them. So that's why this is just 100 plus mods, because, well, it's at least 100. I'm gonna go through the mod list though, because there's a lot there, and I want everybody sort of on the same page. Though some of you are already familiar with a lot of the mods out there, or maybe don't want to know what mods I have installed and want to leave it as a surprise. So that's why this is its own episode. This is episode 0. If you want to know what mods I have, but you don't want to hear me talk about it for 20 odd minutes, then in the description of the video, I have a paste bin link that you can click, and it will take you to just a list of all the mods I have, the Steam URL for each, and I believe it's in the same load order too. So if you want to play along, then there you go. If you don't want to know what mods I have installed, then just skip to episode 1, no problem. Just don't check the paste bin and don't watch this. So this is episode 0. All I'm doing is going through the mods for those of you who are interested, and we'll get on with the series in episode 1. So the 100 or so mods that I have, right now I think the official count is 102. Several of them here, Hugs Lib to Miscellaneous Core, are just the sort of foundation prerequisite mods that allow other mods to work. It's just something to build off of, basically, just to make sure things all work together, sort of. Like Miscellaneous Core is required for the miscellaneous robots to work, and Architect Sense is required for the replace walls to work, and stuff like that. So these are they're mods you have to just to make those work. Nature's Pretty Sweet was tweeted to me. This adds a bunch of different biomes and weather effects and a few events that I'm kind of interested in. It's a bit annoying to scroll through and pause every once in a while here, so I recommend just checking out the Steam Workshop page there for that one. And again, that's just the paste bin link. And check it out there, or just search for it, I guess, too. That would also work. But it adds a bunch of different biomes and weather effects and events and stuff, and I thought it'd be really cool to check out over the course of possibly a few alphas, assuming they keep it updated. It sounds really cool. I'm interested in it, and yeah. Miniaturization allows me to reinstall anything that's considered a workbench, so it works really well with other mods, and it saves me the hassle of, you know, if I got just a temporary spot for a workshop, but I intend to put the workshop somewhere else, then I can move the workbench. I don't have to spend the materials to rebuild it from scratch, because that doesn't really make much sense to me. So this allows me to miniaturize it and relocate stuff just by reinstalling. So really, really good. Runtime Game Cleaner. It's something that I'll run every now and again if things start getting too sluggish, or if things break completely. This allows me to fix it, potentially. It removes references to pawns that no longer exist and such. The stuff that the game could possibly maybe use, but probably not. And it existing just takes up memory and slows things down. Research Pal changes the research tree. It makes everything nice and clean. It scrolls both ways, both horizontally and vertically. It doesn't have the tabs that RimWorld's got nowadays, which I'm gonna miss because that separated the mods pretty well. But this makes it really clear what's needed for what. And if you got mods that rely on sort of vanilla research, then the modded stuff, it fits in nicely, and it's all organized. And if you really want to go for like gun turrets, you can just click gun turrets and it'll automatically queue up the research needed to get to gun turrets. So it's handy. I'll check it out and I'll try it out. Starship Troopers, a film that I should really super duper see, but haven't. And this is added because it's one of those things that sort of scales in difficulty and gets progressively worse and worse and worse, to the point where, well, this will probably be my end at some point. I don't know too much about the mod, but I do know that it scales pretty rapidly, pretty fast. It'll be a good mid to late game thing. It's not going to be a terrible threat early on, but as time goes on, maybe into year 2 or so, it's going to be a serious problem. And I wanted that because I want the game to kind of go in phases, where there's definitely early game, mid game, late game. And I'm hoping that between these guys and Tiberium Rim factions, an example, or more mechanoids, or even Harrowed Light maybe, as time goes on and my value gets higher and higher and higher, I have all these new threats to worry about that are scaling really quickly. Tiberium Rim is based on the Command & Conquer series. It adds Tiberium from that, which is a basically totally toxic resource. A Tiberium source will spawn or crash through a meteor or something, and the stuff will spread out. I think by default it spreads infinite, so it'll eventually take over the entire map, but I've got it set to limit itself because, well, it's limited in the game, so it should be limited here. But also because if I don't get the research to harvest the stuff and take care of it and suppress it like first thing, then it's going to be a really big problem and we're not going to get very far. So I've got it limited just so it spreads a lot, but doesn't take up the entire map. So, I don't know, but this allows me to do some pretty fancy endgame tech that'll be really, really cool to look at, mixed in with the other stuff mixed in with the other stuff that I've got. And the factions just, well, it's, you know, the GDI and Nod, just more threats. Call of Cthulhu factions, more threats again. I've got them just because they're not super duper dangerous. They seem for the most part pretty balanced and they're kind of interesting. And I plan on doing the cults, so it makes sense to have the factions included as well. The cults I really like because it gives me another little side project to do with my colony. I've got hospitality on, I've got the hygiene mod on, I'm gonna have cults on. So all these little buildings that I can have off to the side, little miniature projects, and it sort of helps to make the, makes my colony more like a village / city than just a colony. And I like it, building variety and stuff. Plus it's the mood boosts that I get from having like cool sermons and all that's really, really good. And perhaps I even have somebody defect from the cult and yeah, go hostile against us, and I don't know, we'll see. Straight jackets, it's a research that allows you to make straight jackets, which have a really good chance of suppressing a mental break. If somebody's in a really super rough shape, I can throw a straight jacket on them and lock them away somewhere, and they'll probably be okay. Cybernetic Storm, I don't know really a whole lot about, but this seems to mostly focus on the end game. This will go really well with the glitter tech mod that I've also got. Just adding really advanced prosthetics, weapons, and armor, and just really cool endgame spacer tech research stuff. Medieval times. I'm not going to be a medieval colony. I did that last time. Didn't work well. It's really difficult starting as a medieval colony. But I do want the medieval factions and stuff, so I figured, why not? Harrowed Light. I know really not a whole lot about this. This seems to be a new mod that's on the workshop. Doesn't really have much of a rating at all, but it adds sort of really religious type people, I believe, that are looking to cleanse everything, that sort of deal. And they seem kind of cool. So I thought, why not? Let's check it out. Let's check them out. I can't talk today. This is a horrible day to be doing the mod run through. Just one of those days, but yeah, oh well. More mechanoids, just add some more mechanoids. Why not? Because just a centipede and scyther is a little bit so this adds a bit more. I don't know. Zombieland, yet another threat, though this one I'm probably going to have limited to being a event that happens periodically rather than constantly, because I don't want this to be a constant thing. I just want it to be every now and again a horde of zombies wanders in, deal with it. Okay, that's what I want. Colony Manager gives me a bunch of at-a-glance information and automation stuff. This is difficult to describe, but you can basically set things like, I want to keep this much in a stockpile, and people will just kind of go and do it. You know, you say, chop down trees, I want to make sure we have this much wood, and they're like, okay, cool, and it automatically queues that up. Same with hunting. So it's a little bit automation, a little bit just at-a-glance information. It's a mod that it's been recommended to me for alphas and alphas and alphas. It's been around for a long time, and it's really well done. and I'm finally getting a chance to look at it now. Work tab is quite possibly one of my favorite mods of all time. This is ridiculously good. It separates things like construction into subgroups if you want. So if you want somebody to build and help out with construction, but don't build anything that actually has quality to it, so like you want them to just do floors and install and remove ceilings, then you can do that with this mod. You can have somebody just, all they do is they strictly feed wounded people and they remove roofs, and that's it. That's all they do. You can do that with this mod, and that's fantastic. Hospitality, just yet another building that I can do for the colony, a little side project, just keeping visitors happy and visiting. I like it a lot because I could eventually use this to recruit more people if I'm running low. So it's also really, really well done. Probably one of my favorite mods. Definitely a top 5, I think. Therapy, I'm super interested in. It seems to allow me to maybe fix a broken colonist if I have a really cool therapist. It seems like if I have a godlike therapist, I can basically cure everybody and make them just absolutely 100% normal colonists, which is really, really good. Because sometimes you get a colonist that's just like, they're terrible and they're so crippled because of, you know, this and that. And I think I can fix them in a natural-ish way with this mod. So this will be my first time looking at this one. It's somewhat new, so we'll see. Psychology, been around for a little while. It adds a lot of depth to the colonists. There's just a whole lot more to them. They're very complex nowadays. I'm not going to try to explain it further because it's so difficult, but it gives them much more personality, just long story short. Miscellaneous robots, plus and the tier 5 allows me to buy and research and build robots that are dedicated to one single task. I can't control them. I can't tell them specifically to do anything. I can't queue anything for them specifically. They're just like pets that are automated, and they go out, they do jobs, they need to recharge, so they come back to the charging station and they quote unquote sleep for a bit. There's bots for everything, basically, crafting and kitchen and building and ER and the Omnibot that does everything, but that's a very fancy tech that you have to do a lot to get to. And the higher tiers have higher skill values, and it's a really good mod. It seems really well done. You can also just buy the robots if you don't want to do the research. They're quite expensive, in the tune of thousands of silver, but it's really well done and I like it a lot. The tier 5 just to allow for the sort of godlike skill 20, though these will no doubt be insane to research and ridiculously priced, but meh. Miscellaneous trading, because sometimes you get colonists that are maybe interested in shooting or melee, but their skill's really low. This allows me to make target dummies and sort of melee dummy type things, and they use it as a joy activity, and they get better with their fighting. And that's it. That's all. I like it a lot. Rimsenal. All of the Rimsenal stuff adds different factions of gear. Think Borderlands. They all have their sort of specialties. Like making it up here, we'll just say Federation faction. They're really good at rapid fire weapons. That's what they do. So if you're looking for a machine gun, the Federation machine guns would be just the absolute bees and A's because they pour bullets and just stuff like that. I mean, I made that one up. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I'm not sure, but that's the general idea with this. Is each pack has its own strengths and weaknesses, and it's just a lot more weapons and variety. Also, I forgot about that. The decoys. Decoys. Dub's bad hygiene it's in beta right now. There might be a couple bugs with it. I hope it updates soon because I want to check it out. A lot of mods make things easier on me. This one makes it a bit more difficult because this gives me another thing to have to worry about. I have to worry about sewage and water and heating water and stuff like that. And it gives me more buildings to do, more variety of my colony, and more stuff to keep track of. And I want to check it out. Prepare carefully just so I can have a bit of an easier time randomizing colonists because I just want people to be capable and healthy. God damn it. So many colonists come in with scars or bad back or missing limbs and just refuse to do work, and I absolutely hate it. Speaking of, pawns are capable. This is probably going to be one of my favorite mods. It's my first time playing with it, and rather than just simply saying I refuse to do this work, they don't like doing this work. It's the way it should be in my mind. Everybody is capable of moving things and cleaning things. They just don't like to do it. And for them to just say, I absolutely will not do it no matter what, it's impossible, that's insane to me. This mod means that they will do it, though they don't like it. It's a hated work type, and they're gonna hate it, and they're gonna be in a bad mood if they do it for very long. And it is perfect for me. That's what I've always wanted. So this is probably going to be my favorite mod, assuming it works the way I think it is. Sounds like it is, but I don't know, we'll see. Allow tool allows me to select all of the same thing on the map and unforbid it. It allows me to select a little bit of steel that I see in the mountain and just select all the steel that's connected to that and mine it, so I don't have to keep looking back at it. It simplifies some stuff like that. It's also quite good. While you're up allows colonists to look for a hauling job while they move around the map. So while somebody's out mining, they mine and they're like, oh, okay, it's time to joy, and they come to the colony to joy. But first they check around and see, is there anything I can haul while I'm here? Well, yes, there is. So they'll haul what they've just mined on their way back to the colony. So yeah. Also, I love the little conversation at the start there. It's so true. God damn it. So that'll be a good mod. And while they haul, god damn it, haul it to the stack, because I don't want 30 stacks of smoke leaf joints. Just combine it all. And that's what this does. There is in the work tab mod a specific hauling subcategory for combining stacks. So we'll see if that works very well or not, or if I even need to worry about it. Ideally, I don't need to worry about it, but just in case this mod doesn't quite work, then I do have the work tab to handle that for me. Because I have so many items and such in the game, the RimWorld search agency allows me to search the tabs for stuff, the outfit tab, the build tab, the storage tab, and I can find specifically what I'm looking for, because it's not always categorized in the most simple way. And if I go to the weapons tab, I'm gonna have problems because there's a lot of weapons in the game right now. So this will help a lot. Notifications archiver, because I'm an idiot and I forget things. Prisoner ransom, because why not? I figure if I get a cool prisoner who I don't really want, or they're not recruitable, rather than just release them, maybe I want to basically sell them. And there we go. But it doesn't work if they absolutely super duper hate you. So it seems like I just release a colonist and we'll be at a threshold that I can just sell them to people. So basic bridges, because sometimes the river tiles are in a really awkward spot and the bridge allows me to fix it a little bit. Smooth stone walls, just in case I do a mountain colony, I can smooth the stone walls rather than mine them out and build up stone. It saves a step. Trading spot, I can kind of control where the traders are. I'm going to put them kind of sort of near where the hospitality building is. Refugee stats, just so I can see what the refugee is when they ask for help, because they're usually crippled in every single way possible. And this allows me to see just how terrible they actually are. Rim fridge, because having giant freezers isn't always the best solution. So this allows me to have just a really small 1 or 2 tiled freezer type thing for meals, just here and there throughout the colony. Just disabled growing grass, which let's reload there. There we go. That mod we'll get to in just a minute. That's a fantastic mod. Growable grass. Just allows me to grow grass. That's it. Efficient utilities, reduce the power cost of some of the vanilla stuff just because it's a bit high to me. Fahrenheit and Celsius, because not everybody can read Celsius, which is what I prefer. So this will display Fahrenheit along with Celsius. Zen's XP fixer, so nobody loses skill above 10. Just, I don't know, why not? Replace walls saves me a step. I don't have to deconstruct the wall, wait for them to do it, then re-queue it. I could just say, just do it, damn it. And there we go. Dirt paths, just a really cheap road that I can do temporarily. Visible pants to give people more colony. Dye vats to give people even more variety. Stuffed floors to have variety in the floors that I'm using. This allows me to make floors out of basically everything. Tilled soil, which is a little bit overpowered, allows me to put down fertilized soil after, I believe, a research, maybe 2 researches. I can put down a fertilized soil that's a bit better than rich soil. Furnace, well, it's a furnace. I can turn a room into a furnace and it gets hot. Really hot. Super duper hot. It's awesome. Balanced nutriamine production allows me to research how to farm nutriamine so I don't have to rely on traders all the goddamn time. Dead man's clothing, so we can actually wear dead people's clothing, because colonists shouldn't really care about that kind of thing unless they're like, I don't know, maybe they believe in ghosts and spirits and afterlife and stuff like that, then maybe that colonist would care a little bit. But in general, people wouldn't have a negative mood all the time for wearing some dude's like old jacket. It's weird to me. Cleaning area, because sometimes I just want a specific area clean, not everything ever in the entire colony. This allows me to do that. Power switch to do stuff like automated lights and such. This requires a little bit of research first, but it can look for pawns or enemies and the switch switches accordingly. Or I can also have it just on a timer, I believe. Yeah. And you can also hide power conduits. But yes, that'll be good. Mending, because, well, sometimes clothing gets pretty poopy and it should be possible. Again, can't talk today, one of those days. It should be possible to fix the clothing, and there's currently no way to do that. This allows me to do that. This might conflict with another mod that I've got down the road, the repair workbench, but we'll see. This seems to apply to just clothing, whereas the repair workbench works for maybe possibly weapons too. Not sure if they work well together or not. More trade chips, because I want a working economy in the game. Allow dead man's apparel, because the game's default way of handling allow non-dead man's apparel is really confusing and backwards, and sometimes I just want dead man's apparel to be allowed in a specific spot and not non-dead man's. You know, like if I'm setting up an area for clothing to be incinerated, and yeah, it allows me to do that basically, because the game's current way of doing it is weird. Centralized climate control allows me to, because I have buildings separate and I have sort of a town or a city type thing, this is a mod that I might like because it saves me from having to do air conditioners and heaters across 40 different rooms. I can just have one room. This is the main cooling and heating area. This is the giant exhaust area, and I pipe and vent everything from this room into other rooms. I don't know. Could be good. Moody sorta isn't needed nowadays because the game kinda has something similar along the top, but this just gives me at a glance information about their mood, and I can see what they're currently doing and just stuff like that. I don't know. I can always minimize and just pretend it doesn't exist if I don't use it. The doormat helps keep rooms kind of tidy because the filth sort of accumulates on the floor mat rather than throughout the entire room. That'd be really handy, and means I don't have to have 20 people cleaning, just 1 or 2 people can keep up on it. Circuit breaker, because the ZT event is really annoying and obnoxious, having just a giant explosion. So these are a couple of researches that I can do to help suppress that. You got me, because social fighting, sometimes people get seriously injured for no goddamn reason. I don't know what they were arguing about, but holy shit, they take it personally sometimes. And this prevents it from taking, like, I won't have a colonist losing an arm from a fight, an example. They'll stop before it gets that bad. Meal radius, so colonists actually eat at tables. This extends the radius to 128 rather than 15. So they will find a table, and that is awesome. Feed the colonists. I wasn't sure on this one because I don't have a problem with the default way the game does this, but this allows me to cook meals in bulk and allows me to cook any meal from any stove. So I assume I can do fine meals at a campfire now, an example. I'm okay with how the game handles it naturally, but I figured I would take a look at it anyway, just because if I do end up making kibble or pemmican, then I can make a giant excess of it really quickly, so it'll be worth it for that, if nothing else. Fluffy breakdowns. Rather than things just randomly shutting down because the game feels you have too many components, things actually deteriorate now and need maintenance. So yeah, that'll be good busy work for some colonists. Larger solar panel. The solar panels by default don't quite take up enough space. So now if you want a really clean centered wind turbine solar panel combination, this allows me to do that. Butchering spot will go well with the setup camp mod that I've got somewhere. Yeah, down there. Rather than having to build a butcher table on the spot real quick, chop down a couple trees, put up the butcher table, okay cool, now butcher the thing. They could just set up a butchering spot on the ground, they just rip it apart with their hands. It takes a little while longer, and I don't get as many materials for it, but it's really handy in a pinch if I just need something butchered real quick, for whatever reason. This allows me to do it. Not sure if I'll actually get around to using it though. More vanilla turrets does what it sounds, it adds more turrets in the game. They seem mostly balanced. Some of the higher end ones are really super duper high end, and oh my god. I'm a little afraid of these actually counting for the bandit camp opportunity. If the bandits can get these, then we're so fucked. But otherwise, it's really cool. And it allows me to defend my colony really well without relying on a bullshit kill zone. So I'm okay with that. The quarry allows me to mine up rocks and stuff from just a local-ish area. It allows me to, if I wanted to, settle on a flat terrain tile and still have access to a bunch of mining. It's a really nice mod. I haven't used it too much and I've seen a little bit of it, but from what I can tell, it seems really solid. More furniture, just adds more furniture, variety, couches and different end tables and stuff like that, just to make the colonists' rooms a little different and just add a little more variety. The spaceship chunks, rather than just it being components and steel at the time, now it varies depending on the chunk that lands. Just, I don't know, why not? Industrial rollers. I'm torn on this. Back when I would play Minecraft a lot, I had a mod that allowed me to do something like this. And what would happen was, by the time it took me to build out the rollers to where I need to move stuff from afar, which in this game is pretty much only going to be mining, maybe hunting, but that'll be really strange because herds move. So pretty much just mining. By the time it takes me to build up the conveyor belt and the materials that I spent doing that, whatever I'm mining, it's gonna be gone, and I could just haul it by hand. Especially since I've got while you're up. I don't know if I'll ever really get around to using this, but I don't know. We'll check it out. The repair workbench, I think this is the one that may or may not work with the mending mod. Wherever that one, there it is. Because I think this one works in the same way, just with more things. So I think they can work together. It's just a different bench basically. While mending might work, I think with the tailoring bench, this is its own workbench, and I don't know. This, I think, will allow me to do guns anyway. Maybe even the modded guns, not sure on that. We'll see. Cheaper components just because the components are kind of expensive anyway. Turret collection, just even more turrets. Some of them are really super duper holy shit excessive. Like, you know, giant fucking naval gun turrets. Why am I mowing down tribesmen with that? I don't know, because I can. So I will. That'll be awesome. Realistic rooms, just because colonist rooms are a bit too large as is. I always feel they should be smaller, so this allows me to have them smaller. Glitter tech adds a lot more endgame stuff. It allows me to make glitter world medicine, introduces alpha and beta poly materials that I have to research and go through a giant laborious amount of steps to create, but the stuff is really good. Like, we're talking, if you were able to put together enough beta poly for a longsword, you'd be doing like 300 to 400 damage with it per swing. It's absurd. but that'll take a lot of work to get to. So we'll see. Increase stack, so I don't need to have giant stockpiles or a lot of stockpiles. By default, it's times 10. I'll probably change it to be just like times 3 or times 4 though. But it allows me to just, you know, combine stuff into a nice, neat, organized pile a bit better. Quality builder. I select what quality I want and they keep building it until it's that quality. It saves me from having to queue up 20 beds around the wood and just see what happens and then deconstruct the ones that don't fit and rebuild them. And it also allows me to say make a legendary dining stool, and they'll keep working at it until it becomes legendary, which for some people will never happen. So it's just construction busy work for them. So I like it a lot. Really, really solid. Medical tab, at a glance information about people's vitals, and allows me to really quickly in just a few clicks assign somebody to have a new body part installed. Works really well with the expanded prosthetics mod that I unfortunately can't use, but I figured I'd leave it in regardless. Faction discovery, in the event that I add more factions to the game, I need this mod to make that work, because otherwise they wouldn't have spawned on the world. Faction discovery allows them to spawn mid-save. So if I end up getting more factions, then, well, there we go. More faction bases, because the default 5, I think, factions isn't enough. I'd have just like GDI and a tribe and a pirate and a couple more pirates, and some of the new factions wouldn't exist. So I need this to allow that to happen. Path avoid, because colonists are idiots and they take really dumb routes most of the time. So this allows me to sort of control which routes they tend to go. Zen Garden allows me to, I think it's after stone cutting research, build up a lot of cool decorative things just for, you know, stuff. Decoration for looking at. Something to do. Conduit deconstruct is a tool specifically to remove conduits, so I don't have to go one at a time when they're beneath walls. Blueprints, I'll probably never remember to use this, but this allows me to save and use blueprints across saves or within the same world. Just like copy a bedroom and paste. And there you go. I have a bunch of duplicate bedrooms with the furniture and everything. Really, really nice, but I'll probably forget to use it. Map reroll allows me to reroll the map without having to restart everything, redo the colonists, regenerate a world, etc., etc. I can just add a click, reroll the map. Though by default, every time that I use this, the amount of resources on the map is reduced. I think by 2%. Or if I reroll the geysers for a new geyser position, it's I think 1%. There's an option to remove that, so you can just reroll infinitely. But I think I'll keep it just because it prevents me from getting too crazy with it. So otherwise, really, really cool sounding mod. I played around with it a little bit, and yeah, it does its job pretty well. Mod switch was mostly because I was running into incompatibilities. Worlds wouldn't generate, so I grabbed this real quick and I saved the, I still had it actually, because I had potentially 2 modded series going on at once. But I grabbed this and saved this mod list because when I found whichever mod was incompatible, I would just reload the list and I'd, just take out whatever mod was incompatible. But it allows me to save mods and such, and there we go, and I can load it and I can see all the mods that I've got, and yeah, it's really, really good. It's a really good utility, and I think that's the one that allows me to search here. I think, though that could be the the search mod that I have. RimWorld Search Agency could also be that. I'm not sure. The mod list is what I'm using to export this into Pastebin. It just puts a text document or HTML document, actually I think both, into just the RimWorld directory. So I can copy and paste that into Pastebin, and there you go. Very nice, saves me a lot of typing. Well, almost done. Animals logic allows me to rename animals. That alone is why I have this mod, but it makes animals just a bit smarter too. If you slaughter a thing, it unforbids it automatically, and it gives animals a bit more of a colonist feel, allowing them the same functionality as a colonist in some ways. You know, you can assign beds, they can now have a medical tab, and yeah, it makes them just better. Camps, because sometimes I might be doing a crazy migration type thing, and sometimes I'll need to stop and sort stuff, maybe harvest some berries, chop down some more trees for whatever reason. This allows me to set up camp and do that. If we run low on food, I could just set up camp, do some hunting, do a butcher spot, rip it apart, and we're okay. And lastly, facial stuff, just for some colonist variety. So the mods that I don't have, Ultimate Survival is the type of thing where you get 2 days to set up a base and then raids constantly happen and you just kind of go until you die. Really interesting, but this really needs to be done on its own with nothing else. I'll check that out someday. Possibly, maybe, I don't know, when I get around to it. The compatibility patch for expanded prosthetics. This doesn't work with a lot of things because if it adds more creatures or even animals and stuff like that, then it doesn't work unless the mod developer kept this mod in mind, which they usually don't. So they have to release these compatibility patches, but not all the mod developers do that, or if they do, they don't update, and it's a headache. I don't need this because I don't have expanded prosthetics on. I also have a dog set turned off because I think this might conflict with animals logic and the new faction mod thing that I had, the hollowed something or other, wherever they were. That introduces an animal that I think this would conflict with. The Lovecraft Storyteller, I'm just going to go with the default Storytellers. It's easiest that way. Everyone hauls because I already have the more balanced form of everybody does everything, they just hate some stuff. Industrial Age Objects, I'm never going to use those. Cosmic Horrors, they're a little bit imbalanced to me. They're generally okay, but yeah, they're just a bit imbalanced for me, I think. And Efficient Light, I already have a mod that reduces the utility or power cost of some utilities, so this is just a bit redundant. So that's that. That's a lot of talking. My mouth is tired. Today's one of those days anyway. So that's what I've got. Next episode 1, I'll just, fly into it, and yeah.